Alrighty guys, welcome back. Hope you're doing pretty good. Got a little comparison to do tonight. Tarmac Works and Mini GT. Typically not a combo that we do comparisons on a lot. There's a lot more comparisons that I need to do just in general, but we don't often get to do a Tarmac Works and Mini GT comparison like this because a lot of the times they just don't make the same cars. But in this particular instance, we pretty much have the same thing here. Might not be exactly the same in terms of color and whatnot, but should be close enough. So we've got the Ford Mustang GTD. The Mini GT one says it's in race red. This is number 1196. Ford licensing and all that good stuff on the back, left-hand drive. And then we also have this Tarmac Works here, Ford Mustang GTD again. This one just says red. They don't specify it as race red. And then, yeah, again, Ford licensing on all that good stuff. So we'll go ahead and take a look at them. It's actually been a minute since I've actually opened a Global 64 Tarmac Works. For anybody that's new to Diecast or new to Tarmac Works, Tarmac Works has a couple different lines in their 164 collection. Their lowest end line is Global 64. These always come in these cardboard boxes. Sometimes they come in blisters too, just depending on where you buy them. And then they also have Road 64, which is in the acrylic cases. Usually they are just kind of road-going cars. Sometimes they'll be like road-going versions of race cars. Sometimes they'll be customized cars. They're usually equivalent to Hobby 64 Detail, which Hobby 64 is their highest end line that comes in their acrylic cases. Usually mostly race cars and stuff with more complex livery and details. So that's kind of their three classes. But yeah, like I said, been a while since I've done a Global 64. So go ahead, start with the Tarmac Works. And I guess we can just go ahead and pull them both out. I'm assuming the color on these is going to be a bit different. I don't think these are the same type of red. This Tarmac Works, just right off the bat, is very metallic. I think the Mini GT is going to be a gloss, so color is probably going to be different. But either way, casting and overall detail should be the same between the cars. So let's check it out. Actually very curious. I saw some photos of the Tarmac Works, and I was actually quite impressed by it. Yeah, this is going to be a gloss red for the Mini GT. So there they are. They also do have different wheel color, I'm noticing as well. So not the exact same spec, which is fine, because I'm sure, like in real life, there's probably quite a few different variations of red Mustang GTDs. So first off, we'll go ahead and do a roll test between them, because I know that's an important point that a lot of people take into account when they're purchasing. Mini GT rolls very smooth, and there's also not a lot of wobble with the axle. Everything feels very solid. Mini GT also does grease their axles on their cars now, which helps them roll very quietly and very smoothly. I actually really like that they started doing that. Tarmac Works, the axles and the wheels are quite a bit more floppy than the Mini GT, so definitely not as good build quality there, but it should roll fairly well. Yeah, it rolls really smooth. It's got a little bit of like rattling noise, which again, just not quite as tight tolerances as the Mini GT as far as the axle goes, and then I'm sure that grease plays a pretty big function in that as well. But yeah, we'll jump into the Tarmac Works. So just looking at it here again, really nice metallic paint. The flake is quite large, but it's not like obnoxiously large for the scale. Overall, it looks really nice. It's like a nice candy apple red. It actually looks pretty good here. So, and then this one also has silver wheels instead of the gunmetal ones that the Mini GT has, but they look pretty good. I don't really have any complaints with them. You can see the little tiny Ford badge in the center cap. The actual silver color of the wheel is, it's a nice metallic, like metal flake silver. It doesn't, like the wheels don't look too plasticky. I notice there's some brands that a lot of times their wheels do kind of look very plasticky. And I know that's a weird term to use because these wheels are made out of plastic, but when they're painted nicely like this, they don't look cheap. Like they don't look plasticky and cheap. Some companies are like that. Even some Tarmac Works are like that. So glad to see that here. No break details on this one. As it is a Global 64, that is usually reserved for their higher end lines. So in that department, Mini GT and Tarmac Works are equal. One thing that actually really surprised me about this one is they did an incredible job with the carbon fiber work. So a lot of the times, Tarmac Works' Global 64 cars just don't have carbon fiber when they should. So For example, a car like this, I thought instead of carbon, they would have just done black paint. And there's a lot of other cars, like a lot of their Mercedes AMG stuff, like their AMG GTs should have carbon fiber. They don't. Their SLS AMGs should have carbon fiber, but they don't. A lot of their Paganis that they've released, again, don't have the carbon fiber detailing that they should have. So I was really happy to see that this one had it. And this is actually what made me go ahead and purchase this one and do a review with the Mini GT. Is carbon fiber work is really nice. So on the side right here, this whole side skirt is all done in carbon. It actually looks really nice. Their carbon printing is pretty well done. And then coming up to the front, of course, you have this the two distinct stripes on the hood, which look really nice. And then this whole front splitter piece down at the front is also done in carbon fiber too. Then, of course, those lines continue down the roof and all the way to the back end under the wing. And then the back end, this whole portion of the rear diffuser, so on the sides and then going up and across and down to the other side, all done in carbon fiber. And then there's also a little bit of carbon fiber in this rear venting back here as well. So really, really nice. There's no carbon fiber on the wing, which I do notice right away that Mini GT's wing is carbon fiber. So there is that. So maybe not quite as much attention to detail as the Mini GT, but it actually does look really, really good. And I really like this like black and red combo, like with the carbon and the red metallic paint. It looks really, really sleek. It's got the big vents right here on top of the fenders. It's pretty much the same between both brands. It's also got this little air intake in front of the rear fender too. No color on the interior, and I'm going to assume that there's none on the Mini GT either, but we'll get to that. So nothing there, probably a tie. The mirrors on the Tarmac Works are going to be rigid plastic, but they do actually include some silver paint inside to kind of simulate the actual glass. And then they're actually like a real nice two-tone. So the bottom half and the support post are black, and then this top half is painted that red metallic body color. It's actually really nice work on the mirrors. And then for the front end, we do get the horse in the center grille. It's not super legible, but you can kind of tell what it is and that it's there. And then the headlights look pretty good too. The lenses are clear enough. There's a little bit of fogginess to them, but it's not bad. And then looking at it, you can distinctly see like the LED bulb detail behind the actual lens itself. So quite nice. You've got the orange turn indicators on the side. Overall, it looks really good. The whole front splitter looks nice as well. It's got these little canards that come up. The grille mesh detail all looks good. It's honestly pretty well done. I am noticing there's a little tiny chip in the carbon fiber right here at the front in that seam. Not going to knock too much points for that. Tarmac Works quality control is usually not quite as good as Mini GT, but I've also had some stinkers for Mini GT. So as long as that's the only thing, I think I can live with that. It's not too bad. So yeah, coming around to the back end, we've got this big rear wing that sticks way out. They actually did get the gap in between those two panels, which is something that Mini GT did not do just by kind of glancing over there at it. So they just left this one in like a matte black color, which looks pretty nice. I wish they would have done carbon fiber on it, but hey ho, I'm just happy that Tarmac Works is stepping up their game a little bit for Global 64. Getting to the back, I know some people have complained with Mini GT's Mustang GTD because they didn't use actual lensed taillights. These are kind of just molded plastic pieces that are painted. And they might not be painted. That actually might just be red acrylic, but they're not like translucent or anything. It's just that solid piece. I actually think the shape of the headlights, I actually think the way Mini GT and Tarmac Works have both done it here looks really, really good for the style of the taillight. That with this rear mesh and then the carbon fiber detailing that kind of intricately goes through, it's actually really well done. Tarmac Works did a good job in this rear end, in my opinion. Got the Mustang logo on the license plate there, and then the two exhausts. Really like how they're kind of flat and wide. It looks really cool, and there's a little bit of muffler detail that's kind of cut open by that, where that screw goes. But exhaust detail looks really good. Carbon fiber taillights, really solid from Tarmac Works. I also do want to mention that this does have a metal base, so this model's got nice weight to it. It feels premium. It feels premium. It tells you what the car is on the bottom, 2025 Ford Mustang GTD. Overall, I'm actually very impressed with this particular model from Tarmac Works. I have been noticing, like I said, Tarmac Works has been stepping up their game a little bit for their Global 64 stuff. And I dare say that their quality control for the Global 64 lineup is much better than their Hobby 64 and Road 64 stuff. They seem to be a lot more solid as of lately. And like, for example, one of my favorite cars that Tarmac Works does are these Rally Lancers. These are actually really nice models. I don't know that Mini GT could even do these better, if I'm being honest. So yeah, that's a big win from Tarmac Works. I don't really have anything bad to say it. I guess I have two tiny nitpicks, which the first one being this little paint chip up here in the carbon fiber in that seam. That probably just comes down to my particular model. I'm sure if you guys pick it up, yours probably won't have that. And then the only other thing is the carbon fiber on the wing, of course, but I feel like that's balanced out by it being more intricate. So I'm not even gonna nitpick that. I think that's fine. Just a little bit better build quality in the axles would make it a little nicer. You know, just tighten it up a little bit, like Mini GTs. You shake Mini GTs, you don't hear anything. Shake Tarmac Works, and it kind of rattles around. That's really my only other nitpick, and it's not even really that big of a deal, because once you set it down and you have it sitting, the stance looks good. Obviously, they're not going to be wobbling. Does make for a little bit noisy of a roller, but really nice casting from Tarmac. Like, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. Some of you guys that are regular here probably have never seen me quite this happy with the Tarmac Works before, at least not in a long time. So anyways, let's get into the Mini GT. Again, this is number 1196. And here it is. So there is one difference, one like main difference that I'm noticing right off the bat is that Mini GT did do the defroster lines on the back window. Tarmac Works did not. I actually don't know if I prefer the defroster lines. I almost prefer it without them, because defroster lines don't scale down very well to 164. And I think I might prefer a little bit without the defroster lines. It is a little bit of extra detail there, sure, but maybe not an extra detail that was needed. But anyways, aside from that, obviously the color is different. This is race red. I've already got fingerprints all over it. But just a glossy red paint. It looks quite nice. I like the dark gunmetal gray metallic wheels. And then again, that same carbon fiber pattern that the Tarmac Works had, which looks pretty good. Again, much more solid wheels on the Mini GT. It actually looks like the wheels on the Mini GT are a bit bigger than the Tarmac Works. Yeah, they are. So there might be a little bit of an inaccuracy there between them. I will say, I think the way the wheels fill out the fenders on the Mini GT does look a little bit better than the Tarmac Works. I actually do think that maybe they went a little too small on the wheels, but it's really hard to tell. We'll look at some real photos towards the end of the video and really try to see. But yeah, aside from that, you got the vents in the on both fenders as well, the big one here and then the smaller one right there. Carbon fiber side skirts. I think I do prefer Mini GT's carbon fiber work just a little bit. It's just a little bit more intricate, a little bit more tight knit, and just slightly less glossy than the Tarmac Works, but both of them are still nice. And yeah, carbon goes from the front all the way to the back. You've got a little bit of the red splitting the carbon fiber all the way down to the back. Overall looks really good. Mini GT does lose out in the mirrors because these are just black rubber, whereas the Tarmac Works were actually molded. Obviously going to be a little bit more fragile being plastic, but I think we can all do a pretty good job taking care of our models and not breaking mirrors for the most part. So yeah, mirrors a little bit worse, but the front end, I do think Mini GT did a better job with the logo in that center grille right there. It's definitely has more of the like Mustang horse shape than the Tarmac Works does. But I actually think the Tarmac Works headlights look a little bit better. So Mini GT has the same shape lens, but there's not really any detail to be seen inside the lens. It's kind of just black. It's kind of just like a black nothing. So I think the Tarmac Works headlights do look a bit better here. So a win for Tarmac. Mini GT also does have the carbon fiber front splitter, which looks good. All the mesh and details and the little canards on the side and the orange turn indicators, just like the Tarmac, all looks good. Nothing really special to point out there. It does have this little Ford logo up on the top of the windshield. The Tarmac Works did not have that, but it's kind of a cool little detail. But again, I don't know if that's going to be on every GTD that Ford makes. It could just be a little variation. So yeah, black interior on this one as well, so that's a wash. And overall, shape looks pretty good between the two, pretty similar. Same mirror shape or wing shape and everything. Of course, Mini GT did do the carbon fiber on the top and the bottom of it, but they did not put the gap that the Tarmac Works has. So I kind of prefer the shape of the Tarmac Works, and then of course I like the carbon fiber for the Mini GT. So again, it's kind of a wash because this one has its pros and cons, and so does this one. So, but either way, I think they both look good. And then as far as the rear end, just like the Tarmac Works, they are not like actual acrylic pieces. They're just like kind of plastic inserts. But Mini GT does use a bit of a metallic red paint, which makes them look, I don't know, like almost kind of shiny. Whereas the Tarmac Works kind of just used more of a flat red. You can see the difference in them pretty good like that. So I do prefer the color of Mini GT's brake lights. The shape and everything of the back end between the two actually looks pretty similar as well. They both did the Mustang license plate. They both have the carbon fiber up in this rear vent. The mesh looks good. You got the GTD text in the center. I think I do prefer Mini GT's exhaust tips a little bit more than the Tarmac ones. The Tarmac ones definitely do have more depth, but the outside, like walls of them, are a bit thicker than the Mini GT. So the Mini GTs just look a little bit more intricate, but they don't go as deep in. They're pretty shallow, and then they have some black paint in there. And then the shape of the exhaust on the bottom is a little bit different too, but I'm not going to knock that too much. But both do look pretty good. Mini GT also got all the carbon fiber in the back diffuser area, which looks pretty good. And they both got the auxiliary taillights and everything down there. Even the silver stripe in the center right here is the same between them. So that's pretty good. And of course, just like the Tarmac Works, the Mini GT does have a metal base as well with the name of the car down there. So a lot of similarities between them. There's some slight differences, like for example, the wing, the exhaust tips, the headlights, the wing mirrors. Overall, I like them both pretty equally. I don't really know that I could pick one over the other. I do think Mini GT's wheel fitment does look better, especially when you're kind of holding them. I guess when you set them down, it's not quite. Maybe I should put them on the correct boxes so I'm not confusing anybody. But yeah, when you set them down, I think they both look really good fitment-wise. But yeah, the Mini GT's wheels are definitely just a little bit bigger. But they're both really nice. And they sit side by side together really nicely, which is kind of a win because that's kind of like, I like a lot of my diecast models between the different brands to be kind of fluid together. Like I want to be able to sit these two next to each other and have them both look similar. You know what I mean? I also do want to note that the little pieces in the grill vents on the Mini GT here are a little bit sunk down, whereas the Tarmac Works are a little bit more flush. I actually think the Mini GT's vents do look a little bit worse because they're kind of sunk down and they're not like perfectly like centered in these gaps in the hood. Like you can see some of that red body paint coming through. So that is a little bit of a downside there. But yeah, either way, both are really nice. If you're a Mustang fan, GTD fan, whatever, definitely don't be scared to pick up some of these Tarmac ones. I actually might pick up another one or two at some point when they release as well, because this is pretty nice. Like, I mean, just getting the carbon fiber work from Tarmac Works is really good. So I will try to find a photo of a real GTD in red to put on screen. Again, kind of doing it to compare the wheel sizes. So I'll have it up on screen. And they might have a couple different size wheels for the GTD, but I imagine this specific wheel type is probably going to be the same size between them. So one of these is going to be a little bit more accurate in terms of wheel size to the other one. But other than that, it's pretty even. Both have a little bit of pros and cons, but I think they look pretty dang good side by side. So you can kind of see with some real photos how they look. Hopefully I can find some good photos of a red one. And also the scaling between the two actually looks very nice. So when you kind of have one on top of the other, like the length of the cars looks pretty good. I will say the Tarmac Works may just be a tad bit longer, but it's also really hard to tell. So I think I've got them lined up pretty good there. Trying to line up the rear ends. No, that looks pretty close. Maybe the Mini GT's front lip sticks out just a little bit more than the Tarmac Works, but that's not really that big of a difference. The width and the whole like body style between the two actually looks like pretty damn accurate. Even like the front shape and like the silhouette and like the body lines and stuff. In fact, the body lines like over the fenders and whatnot actually almost looks a little bit more pronounced on the Tarmac Works than the Mini GT. The Mini GTs are a little bit more muted. So little bit of a difference there, I guess. But yeah, these are both really nice. I like them. I like them both quite a bit. Very happy with both of them. They look good side by side. Really impressed with Tarmac kind of stepping up their game a little bit with Global 64. Like overall, it's just a win. So between the two, which would I recommend? Honestly, either one. If you want the Mini GT and not the Tarmac Works, get the Mini GT. If you want the Tarmac Works, see what the new kind of increase in quality is like, go for it. And they're both red, but obviously they are like kind of different colors. And then the Tarmac has silver wheels. This one's gunmetal. So like there's decent amount of like color difference between the two as well, if you wanted to get both. And they're both pretty similar price as well. Mini GT, and Tarmac Works Global 64 are usually around that like $11 to $14 price range. So same price. They're both like, these are both brand new releases. So they're going to be available at the same time. So it's really just down to your personal preference and which one you liked better after watching the video. So yeah, but as always, I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Which one's better? Did I miss anything? Let me know. Catch you guys in the next one.